Angle it some kind of way.
There we
Oh,
go.
we're live.
Broadcast is live. We are live. And so is your microwave. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. They be trying to hide stuff in the back, kick stuff under you, kick stuff off to the side, so it's not in your camera view.
That's like when you have guests, everything goes in the closet.
Good
Oh,
evening, everyone. Welcome. As you're tuning in, we'll wait for a few minutes for everyone to come in. We don't have a long time today, so jump on in
mhm.
and welcome and share, like, all that good stuff. Invite someone on for our SoundMind panel this evening as we are continuing our discussion that we did last time on what is it, y'all? I'm sorry.
Daddy hunger, if I
Yes,
remember
Daddy
correctly.
Hunger. We're talking about like the power of a father's love and all of those things. So we're talking about Daddy Hunger. So we want you to jump on in. So wonderful tonight that we have back with us Dr. Reggie Hudson. And the crowd goes wild.
Yay!
Dr. Hudson is with us. Deacon Andrea LaBoo is with us this evening. Welcome, welcome back to the panel. And we're going to get started in a minute. How's everybody? Hi, my leader.
Oh, yay.
How's everyone doing tonight? We ready to go? Thank you for sharing. Please, yes, do as you come on in, share, let someone know that we're on.
Mhm.
There we go.
Thank you. Hi, Keisha Bryant.
Keisha just
Welcome.
joined us. Yep.
Welcome, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
You guys jump
Mm-hmm.
on in as we have this discussion. We don't want to wait too long today because we're gonna kind of like jump on in. We only have a little bit of time. So
Yeah.
let's get to it. How's everybody feeling? Good?
Good.
Good. Everybody's
Good.
everybody's good.
Everybody's good.
Yeah. Summer's going way too fast.
Oh yeah, I can't believe we're midway, almost midway through July
Yeah, let me
already.
tell you.
I'm like the kids going back to school in September. I'm like, no.
I was in the store yesterday and saw fall decorations being sold. I'm
Mhm.
like, are you rushing this thing
Yeah, I
through?
can beat that. I saw Christmas.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
already talking to my kids about Christmas. I'm like, "Are you
Yeah.
guys ready for the holidays?" They're like, "What?"
Mom.
No, I want to hold
Oh,
on to
they
the
ready. No,
summer.
they ready. They're like, "Ooh, can I start making my list now?" I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Go
Yeah.
ahead."
Got Melita's
Danny
doing
about to
great.
come in the
Yay.
summertime now.
Yes. Hi, Kite. Hi, Marion. Thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Yay.
My
I'm
leader,
always
glad
so
you're
honored.
doing great.
So I'm always so honored when people join us and come in. And
Yeah.
such it is. I don't take people's time for granted. So I appreciate
No.
that. I do.
Yes, we're so glad that you guys are back with us. So we're going to jump on in. So we've been talking about daddy hunger, and last time we did a lot about attachment. So we're going to kind of start there tonight and
Mm-hmm.
work our way into some new kind of areas of discussion, and we'll have the panel jump on in. So we can't talk about father daughter relationships or daddy hunger without talking about like attachment, right? And
Hmm.
a lot of our relationships come from those formative years where we develop or lack thereof relationships with our parental figures, especially what we're talking about tonight is our dads, right?
Yep.
So if you are not familiar, get out a little ink pen or a pencil or something to write with. And we'll talk a little bit about the various attachment styles to start this discussion, right? So there are four, right? Your secure attachment,
Hmm.
anxious attachment, or which some um, dismissive attachment, or which some consider avoidant attachment, and anxious. Did I say that? Anxious, secure,
Mm-hmm.
dismissive,
Mm-hmm.
and avoidant, or fear-based
Mm-hmm.
attachment.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that what we're really, really wanting is those secure attachments, right? It's into your secure attachments that trust is built, that you are attuned to the emotions of others, that helps you communicate directly and effectively with other people. It helps you to cooperate and be flexible in relationships, and it helps your behavior in negotiating differences with others, right? If we have solid, secure bonding and attachments with our dads, these are some of the things that we see how it translates into other relationships, right? We're good communicators. We feel really secure about ourselves and our relationships. We're able to advocate for ourselves. We know our worth, our value. But what happens when we don't have that, right?
Hmm.
Then we
Mhm.
start creeping into things like anxious attachment or dismissive or avoidant attachment. Anxious attachment style, particularly, is the one where most people would have like we call like a sensitive nervous system,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Okay.
Where they struggle
Mhm.
with communication, they tend to be easily triggered or act out, when things in relationships make them feel uncomfortable or are not going in the direction that they want. And then we have dismissive or avoidant attachment. Self-explanatory, I think, right? People
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of
That's not a hard one.
Nope.
kind of
Nope.
avoid attachment. These individuals tend to downplay the
Mhm.
importance of relationships. They are extremely self reliant, become very difficult being vulnerable in relationships, especially when there's a crisis. They're the ones more likely to say, I got it. I don't need to call anybody. I've been taking care of things for myself all this time. I got it, right? I don't need no man. I don't need nobody. I've been taking care of
Yeah.
myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
we have avoidant attachment. I'm sorry, fear-based attachment, right? Which is where you become more dependent in relationships, right? These are those that are more dependent in relationships. They can be dismissive. They have strong fears of rejection, low self-esteem, tend to be more codependent in relationships, and have high anxiety, right? So fear-based or anxious attachment. So let's jump into this and talk about the ways in which a relationship with a father, why is that so important as far as helping individuals with these types of issues and addressing how did I get here? So let's say we have someone that's listening today and they're like, I am that person with like dismissive attachment, and I know it comes from my relationship with my dad, right?
Mhm.
What are some of the markers, right, in childhood or growing up that would help someone identify if they're creeping toward those unsafe zones, right? You know, is it that dad was like emotionally unavailable, like we talked about last time,
Mhm. Mhm.
abusive? Is it things that we've seen them do with mom?
Mhm.
That's
Mm.
a big one.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or lack thereof of all of those things, like a dad who wasn't present at all and you saw
Mhm.
none of the things that would help you build secure attachment. So you guys
Mhm.
speak to that a little bit about some of the things that would help people understand their markers.
Mm. Okay. All right, Deacon.
Okay, that is like okay. That's a really big question. A really big
Yeah.
question because I think part of the challenge um, is not only awareness, but awareness of what the markers are, but a self awareness of when you feel those things.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
think we often go through life and we do things, and sometimes we do things on automatic pilot, or we will have a reaction to something and not quite sure why. Why am I doing this? But the bigger awareness is knowing that you're doing it,
Yeah.
and maybe even listening to feedback of family, friends, or just having establishing a pattern. you know I'll use as an example when people talk to me and say, this one happened with this person, this one happened with this person, and there's a common theme. Okay, what's the common denominator? Okay,
Mhm.
so some of that requires introspection and saying, okay, really, who am I? Who
Mhm.
am I? And how did I get to be this way? When I say that's a big question, that's a big question. And it's not anything, in my opinion, that can be done overnight. It is a process because we change over our lifetimes. We respond to different things differently over our lifetimes. But I think the first step in answering your question, the first step of this is just having an awareness. A lot of times when I talk to parents and different things, I say, don't change anything. Don't
Mhm.
just become aware. Pay attention to what you're doing, how you're saying things. That's all I want you to do. So I think that's the first step in looking at so-called triggers or things that may be markers for us.
Mhm. Yeah. Dr.
Yeah.
Hudson, did you want to add to that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think also too from the father dad perspective, the thing that I'm continuing to learn now, even as a grandfather, is that I got to continue to update my dadship relationship. Okay. And I think what has to understand, especially in our culture, many of the African American culture, I mean, let's look at it. I mean, if you go through history, what other cultures have called themselves so many different names?
Yeah.
Some we've been called, but some we label ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for um, the men that I talk to, and I had a conversation this afternoon with a man about with his son. He has had a positive influence that his son has never seen him not working.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one of the things, father, dad, the biggest key before you even talk about anxious, secure, avoidance, distraction is daughters want the feel of security.
Mm-hmm.
Even if dad don't understand a thing they're saying. Now, mom tends to be the clarity person. But in the moment, they just want to know dad's there, or they can get dad on the phone. And I think the thing, and I reference myself a lot because the last 15, 20 years I've done a lot of introspection in that area, that we have to understand we don't have to be know-it-all. They just want your presence. They want to feel that security of your presence. They want to be able to tell somebody, my dad. If they say my father, okay, you have a father, but do you have a dad?
Mm-hmm.
And dad represents presence. You know what I'm saying? And I know with my daughter, our relationship, is so strong now, and it's just one of those things. We talk, we laugh, we can talk about serious things. She's helped me with so many things. I'm working on things. I use her expertise, and that's another part too. Give and take.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yep.
So if we were to like add a layer to that, so Dr. Hudson, let me ask you, because you're a dad, right? You're the man on the panel. I've had recently, especially some conversations with some dads and some children, and one of the feedback that we have gotten from the kids' side is that dad was really good at being there, right? Doing what a man and a husband and a father is supposed to do, showing up, paying the bills, showing up the ball games and all that stuff. But what they did not get enough of from dad was the emotional bonding.
Yeah.
Where they felt like dad could show them what vulnerability looked like.
Right.
They did all of the other stuff fine, right? If you wanted to say, was your dad show up? Yep, he showed up. Was he supportive? Yes, he was supportive, right? But I didn't get that kind of like, if I needed help and I needed to talk about something really painful or emotional, that's not who I'm going to go to.
Right.
I'm going to go to mom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what goes on there, that there's like this disconnect with a lot of dads, I think, not all, but with some of the dads as it relates to the emotional part.
Right. Your generation would probably experience that more than my generation or Deacon Andre's generation. I knew my father loved me. He worked. I did not know a time when he didn't work. If a job ended for him on a Friday, Monday morning, he's working somewhere. He would tell everybody else about the good things I'm doing, but he'd always tell me like where I fell short. So I didn't get that huggy, feely thing. And it wasn't until with my own children, they got to college, that I started saying, I love you. And the first time I said it, it was like, oh my God, it's like, it was so uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, I'm getting the phone now. Love you. That sort of thing. But now they all know. Now they all know when I get off the phone, hey, I love you guys. They know it's coming, and they reciprocate. So I think what it is for some, it's because they have not been exposed to it.
Yeah.
I was praying right now just about something. I just want to share the side of it. Sometimes the dads can be restricted because of the mom. If you constantly tell dad what he isn't.
Yeah.
Men, our trust factor is probably less than women, although women will tell you, my trust, when I'm through with you, I'm through with you. But men, like I said before, they stay in that cave. And when they feel comfortable with you, they'll come out and they'll open their heart. But the minute they feel you turn, or the minute something's different, that's why I would say to couples, listen, you're losing an argument when you have to go back to the past. And so that's one of the things. But I think the biggest thing too is men getting that confidence of being a dad. So we hear father, 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 but being a dad, and
Yeah.
then being able to say, I don't know. I love my children, love my daughter. If you have sons and sons, but I just don't know how to and
Mm-hmm.
be vulnerable. I think that's a part too. We are not as vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a sign of weakness for us.
Yeah. 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 Thinking of who you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to echo exactly what Pastor Hudson was saying. I think that and I agree that generations have started to change this thing. Or I think men and dads in particular are becoming more connected to their children. That
Mhm.
it's safer to do
Yeah.
that. Where I won't look like a wimp.
Yeah.
If I say I love you, or or if I let my son or my daughter know that and tell them physically that I love them and give them a hug. So I think things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think one of the things, just to echo what Dr. Hudson was saying, is that there's an issue with vulnerability,
Yes.
and how that will be perceived by the women in the house.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If the mom sees a husband crying, or see that, okay, if the
Mhm.
woman or the parent's partner says, "Oh, stop being a wimp," okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay, then
Yeah.
that's going to retreat that father right back in the. But I'm done,
Yeah.
because and then that really has nothing to do with him. It really has more to do with her.
Yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
more to do with her. So I
Yeah.
think, as Pastor Arthur was saying, there are multiple levels to this. I
Mm-hmm.
think things are changing. A few years ago,
Oh
I
yeah.
did a support group just for men who were considered
Mhm.
deadbeat dads, primarily because I wanted to know, why aren't you there for your kids?
Yeah.
And a lot of them were very hurt because it hurt too much. Um, Leaving them, number one, but also dealing with the mom and the relationship that came along with it. It
Mm-hmm.
was too painful. So
Mhm.
I just, as Pastor said, went in my cave. I went
Mm-hmm.
in my cave. So I think once we make it a safe space
Mm-hmm.
for, and really have an idea of what a strong man is, and break
Yeah.
that stereotype,
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
think we will give our children the gift of fatherhood that they deserve.
Yeah, because then they miss out. They are
Yeah.
the ones impacted by it.
Mhm.
They're the ones
Mhm.
Absolutely.
that see, why couldn't y'all work out whatever issue y'all had for us? It's
Absolutely.
not about y'all at this point. There's another life there that needs that. And I think traditionally, to what you guys are saying, I think my mom's generation and the generation before them, the moms took on that role too, more so of caretaker, while the dads worked more, and the more likely the moms would be staying at home and taking
Mhm.
care of the kids. It's different a little bit more now, where more moms are working full time than
Yeah.
back in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and things
Right.
like that.
Right.
And so the men did not have the need, as much as they do now,
Mhm.
to develop that bond with their kids. It was
Mhm.
like, go ask your mama, I gotta work, and go ask your mama, go ask your mama, go ask your
Yeah.
mama.
Yeah.
And I think now the expectation is different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think dads are seeing that importance too.
Yeah.
And it is important for the dads to feel like they can bond too with their kids,
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
that's not a sign of weakness or
No.
Right.
anything, because they're
Yeah.
crying with their kids or supporting them or hugging and
Mhm.
kissing on them and being vulnerable. That should be,
Mhm.
exemplified
Uh,
for kids from their dads and their moms.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When when
Absolutely.
when when people other their peers know that there's a dad presence,
Mhm,
it even changes how they're treated in school,
Oh
mhm.
yeah.
how it's treated treated on the throughout the community. And the other thing too is dad cannot be portrayed just as the discipliner. I
Yes.
remember
Mhm.
times,
Mhm.
sometimes I would come home, the kids are acting up. I would say, "You so and so did this and that. You need to go in there and
Mhm.
spank them." I just came in
Mhm.
the house. Now all of a
That's
sudden,
right.
I put on my dark hat.
Don't make me the enemy.
I don't even know what they did, and it's a true story.
And
Yeah.
I believe you.
One
Yep.
time I did this. I said, "Okay, I went in and
Yeah.
disciplined
Right.
Mhm.
my daughter." And when she finished, she says, "Dad, mommy was talking about Reggie." Oh,
You done beat the wrong child.
perfect.
You got the wrong one.
Never happened again. 'Cause, so I'm like, so it's that constant, and you're right, Adik, what you said you're sharing about that with your support group,
Mhm.
um, especially when you have men that have been incarcerated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh, we don't, a lot of times people don't understand. I mean, thank God, never been incarcerated, but I've
Mhm.
worked a lot in the prisons. The guilt and the things they would play over in their mind in that little cell.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, if they can get out and have a chance to go back home, they
Mm-hmm.
got to contend with all the stuff people say about them anyway.
Yeah.
It's like every step a layer's being peeled,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you know, it's one of those things where that support group needs to be from other dads. I mean, even from others. I commend all the mothers that had to hold it down
Mm-hmm.
by
Absolutely.
themselves and had to go out and work. Some 2 jobs. You know what I'm saying? And on Father's Day, and I had to address this several years ago. You know, Mother's Day, we
Big.
laud the mothers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And on Father's Day, you know, I'll have the fathers stand up, and then this one lady used to always stand up.
Mm-hmm.
So I ignored it for a couple of years, and then finally I had to address it and did some teaching on it. I said I can understand some situations where you're juggling 2 hats. I said, but I don't care how many hats you juggle, you can't replace the voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something about the voice, just like with a mother's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and all that does when they stand, it just keeps the bitterness in.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, I just put out something yesterday, a whole sheet on the root of bitterness. All the different things that make you bitter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yeah. And imagine all of the kids though that are attached to those types of messages. Like when when that's the demeanor, and it's the children that have, you know, these things are passed down to them.
Oh yeah.
You know, so when those things are not activated, like a man feels like he can bond with his kids and things like that, it impacts them. They're the ones who have to learn how to deal with that lack of bonding and attachment.
Absolutely. And, you know, and one of the things I'm hoping that'll come out of this discussion, you know, there are a lot of I call them walking wounded. There are a lot of people walking around wounded by
Right.
relationships that they had or did not have, or they thought they should have with a
Right.
father or a parent, period. Hopefully a conversation like we're having will help, you know, people see their parents as people.
Right.
See
Yeah.
their
thank
fathers
you.
as people
Thank you.
with vulnerabilities, with
Yeah.
fears, with all the stuff that comes along with it. So we can begin to give them a break. Give them a
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, we're operating, and parents and fathers are operating with the skills and tools that they've inherited.
Right.
You know, and if they have not been the healthiest or the most helpful, then unfortunately the parent or father may be working with what they know and what they have. So, you know, if there is an adult person who has a relationship with their father, cut them a break. Cut them a break and realize that parents are people too.
Yeah. I had someone who I had a discussion with about that, and they were saying that they really struggle with vulnerability. A young man was telling me this and talked about his relationship with his dad, and it wasn't healthy, and dad was constantly rejecting him and making him feel some type of way. And so now, like, he has so much pent up anger and fear and like about being vulnerable. And he said, what tools do I need to start being more open so that people can, you know, without being fearful that people will hurt me and abuse me or take advantage of me for being open. And one of the things I had to explain to him was the vulnerability that you develop is not for other people. It's for you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a
Exactly.
benefit to them, but it's for you. You know,
Yep.
you have to know that you have a right to voice your needs, your concerns, to be open, to be loving, to be transparent. And whether or not people are capable or not of giving you everything that you need should not stop you from learning those tools of vulnerability, you know, because no matter what we do, people
That's
are
true.
always going to hurt us or do
Yep.
something to disappoint us. But if we shut down every time we think about our dad who wasn't there, or every time we're fearful that someone's going to reject us, we would never have a relationship. Your kids, your spouse, your boss, everybody is capable of in some way, you know, purposefully or not, by accident,
Right.
causing us some hurt.
Right.
You know,
Wait,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry
go ahead.
to interrupt. No, I mean, what you're saying is so on point. And I think the other thing from the dad perspective, again, I've been trying to work through over the years, sometimes better, sometimes than others, is that I'll go back to my children and I'll say, you know what, when this happened, when that happened, I realized I should have done it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I'm sorry about so forth and so. And, what blessed me was how they responded.
Mm-hmm.
And they did say something like, well, Dad, you're human too, things like that. So that was a blessing. And I mean, Lord willing, I won't give my daughter's age away because I'll never hear it at the end of it. Lord willing, next year, my son turns 40.
Wow.
Now he is, Reverend T, the dad you're talking about, Deacon LeBeau, the dad you're talking,
Yeah.
he is it. My little granddaughter, Ryan, she'll be 3 in August, going on 43.
Yep, that's my daughter.
And she clings to her father. Yes, my grandson clings to him too, but he's so present in everything. I mean, he takes his son, takes Reese to the barbershop, to this, to that, takes her, he babysits, he lets his wife, Raquel, go out with her friends, things of that nature. So that's why I say your generation is operating. And believe it or not, it's by the grace of God. Some cases you picked it up from your parents, but some cases, I think, if we're honest, you looked at parenting and just say dads from a perspective, and you realize what you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Based on what they did. So sometimes it's not what you want, it's what you don't want. I want to be different. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to really go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and just to add to that, and it goes right back to what we started in the conversation with about that awareness, and having that enough that awareness to know of what Pastor Hudson said, what I don't want to do. So we're not blindly repeating those same negative patterns and doing those same negative behaviors. I don't want to be this. So I may not have all the answers of how to get there, but at least I know I don't want to do that. And then, of course, get help, resources, whatever. There's a lot of stuff out there. Talk to people.
For sure. There's
Call my
always
parents.
resources there. Yep. I saw Keyface, he had a quick question. Let me see if I can get to it real quick. Just wondering if should build a relationship, if a relationship with his dad can be repaired despite not having talked in several years, or should he let it go? I guess they ran into each other and they hadn't spoken since. Is it ever too late, to rebuild and repair a broken relationship? And I don't think so.
No.
Do I think there's times where creating boundaries, is necessary depending on the circumstance? Yes, but there are other times where I think it's okay to reach out, and sometimes we have to redefine our expectations. But I don't think it's ever too late to reach out, and even if it's just a gesture of saying hello, and you guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, that's where your faith comes in.
Yeah,
To a degree, because, like you said, if it's an abusive situation, you may have to set boundaries just for safety reasons. But it's never, it's never. I mean, I'm enjoying parenting more the last 20, 25 years than I did in the beginning. And it's not that because kids weren't great, it's just, but I was all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And I want to encourage any women or daughters or young teens, that if you can talk to your dad, and if you don't feel like talking, write him a card or leave a note. If he's present in the house, you can do that. Little things. It's never too late to heal. You know what I'm saying? So if we can just get rid of stigmas in our culture, and I think I think both of you can probably speak to that more than I can. A lot of these stigmas prevent us from doing the uncommon thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then it's glamorized so much. You see broken relationships on reality TV shows all the time now. And, so the fact that it's glamorized makes it harder for people to see these things as as toxic as they are, and we fund it, right? We glamorize it. We put it out on Front Street. We watch it eating popcorn like it's theatrics, and this brokenness and trauma in relationships with couples and dads, and that makes it harder. But definitely, I agree. Like we have to.
And then just to add to it, it's a process, but just to echo what you're saying, and it's not going to be solved in a 30-minute sitcom show. It's not.
No, it's
No,
not.
It's not.
no.
It's taken a lifetime to get to this point.
Mhm.
It's may take a little longer than 30 minutes to get past it.
Right, right.
So I agree this. It's never too late, and I
Mhm.
agree with you. We have to set our non-negotiables and things
Right.
that this is how this is going to move forward.
Mhm.
If particularly in an abusive relationship or anything else, like you have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
But sometimes it really is about taking a different approach.
Mhm.
And trying something different that you haven't tried before, and then also do it in segments. You don't have to cure the whole relationship in one conversation.
Right. Mhm.
That's irreverent. He said it may start with, "Hey, hi, just wanted to call and see how you're
Right.
doing,"
There you
and
Mhm.
go.
be and leave it at
There you
that.
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. Leave it at that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be solved all at once, because
Right.
it didn't get there all at once.
Yes.
But there's
No.
always hope. And Pastor Hudson said that's where your faith comes in. That
Amen.
God can heal all relationships. All
Mhm.
relationships.
So
And
listen, guys. Go ahead, Deacon. I just want to say
no,
one
no.
more.
I just want to think, and I think that's the thing too, is we have so many generations in general
Mhm.
that does not know what the Lord has done, just like Israel.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is. They're in that they go to church for funerals,
Mhm.
maybe a wedding,
Mhm.
maybe a wedding. But that's a painful part. But you got to start turning it around somewhere. And again, Reverend P, your generation is turning it around so the next generation preferably can pick up. I mean, your children already have it instilled in them
Mhm.
at their young age.
Mhm.
Hey,
But you got to do that consistently, and that's the
yeah,
thing. Like consistency is
Yeah.
key,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing as we're trying to grow and
yeah.
learn to be more vulnerable and make those connections with our dads and stuff like that. Is consistency. Like Deacon LeBou said, even if it's little things at a time, consistently will help build and rebuild those relationships.
Absolutely.
And I know your children's dad, so I know.
We'll keep you in prayer, Reverend T.
Thank you. So listen, everyone, I know we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember that we're here on every second Thursday of the month at 7 for our SoundMind panel. Share this if you came on a little late. We would really appreciate if you share it for someone who needs to hear it.
Mhm.
Don't forget to also email the social. What's the
Social at gotobethany.com.
yes, for
Love it.
ideas. Thank you for
Reverend
ideas.
Hudson. Go ahead, Dr. Hudson.
Social at gotobethany.com with ideas on things that you want to hear us talk about for the next Sound Mind panel. We would love to get some feedback from you on things you would like us to discuss. And thank you for the panel. We'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful evening, okay?
You do the same. Thank you so much.